Good morning, everyone. Thank you for viewing and listening wherever you are in the world. Welcome to this press conference held by Opposition Leader Ralph Thorne and Political Leader of the Democratic Labour Party. We are going to be hearing from some of our spokespersons this morning, Shakwani Hunt on Youth Affairs, Amoy Gilding Board on Agriculture, Andrew Cave on Maritime Affairs, and Simon Clark on Community Development and Social Issues. Once again, welcome everyone. I hand over now to the opposition leader.
Thank you, Miss Alling, and good morning to everyone. Good morning to all Barbadians here and in the diaspora. Good morning to our friends from the Fisher Folk community.
Good morning.
Thank you very much. I want to thank you for coming. This morning's exercise is not about us, it is about you. And I want to thank you for having the courage in this political environment to come and be representative of the industry in which you worked for many, many years. I begin by saying that last week, the Central Bank of Barbados issued a report in which they told Barbadians that we are living in favorable economic conditions. Now, I don't know to whom that report intended to refer, but here with us this morning are a number of our fellow citizens who do not understand that language as uttered by the Central Bank of Barbados. They're not living in favorable economic conditions. As you know, they belong to the Fisher Folk community. Most of them are from the Bridgetown facility, some are from Oistins, and perhaps a few other facilities, fishing facilities around Barbados. As you know, there was the hurricane sometime in June, I think, Hurricane Beryl, and in the aftermath of that hurricane, the fishing industry was destroyed by about some 90% of the industry was lost in that hurricane. I have expressed the view earlier as to who bore responsibility, not for the hurricane, but for the destruction, not only of boats, but for the destruction of an industry. And it continues to be my view that the government is factually and legally responsible for the destruction of those boats and therefore for the destruction of the industry. I held the view, and I still do, and this is an opinion. I can be challenged on this, but to bundle those boats into a confined space was really exposing the industry and the boats to the kind of dangers that ought to be avoided. And the government may have avoided that if they had paid more attention to the Bridgetown facility and paid less attention to the cricket at Kensington. The cricket would have gone on in any event. And I argued that they could not have rescued all of the boats, but they could have saved some of them if proper provision had been made for the saving of those boats. In the aftermath, the government, they have not openly admitted factual or legal responsibility, but they made promises to the industry. They said that not only are they going to assist boat owners in repairing and rebuilding boats, but that they would make monthly payments, the months of September, October, and I think November. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Many of these persons have not received those payments. I went to Parliament 2 weeks ago, and I raised this issue. They were discussing maritime affairs, and I reminded the government and I reminded the people of this country that maritime affairs is not only about cruise liners, but it is about the people who fed this country for as long as we've known it. Anytime we talk about culture, culture, as we know, is the totality of life in a community. But culture does not exist unless you have food. Unless you have food, nothing else happens. And the persons who are responsible for feeding this country are farmers and fishermen. And you could put it into one category and say farmers, because fishermen are farmers in the sea. And unless that industry survives, this country will not survive. And this is not patronizing. This is not to tell people something that they want to hear to make them feel good. At the heart of culture, at the heart of Barbadian culture, is this group of people who you see here with us this morning, we have not brought them here to display them as persons of curiosity. We have brought them here to highlight the hardship that they have experienced over the last few months as a result of government's broken promises to them. Government told them that they were going to pay the boat owners $2,000 a month, that they were going to pay the fishermen $1,500 a month, and that they were going to pay the vendors $1,500 a month. I think that's correct. Those figures are correct. Thank you very much. Now, many of them here have not received those payments. A few of them, I like to tell the truth. One or two, perhaps even present here, have received 2 payments. We like to tell the truth. But they're here this morning in solidarity with those who have not received it. Now, it's not a large amount of money. $1,500 a month is how much a week? 300 plus a week. What can you do with 300 plus a week? But we congratulate the government for doing a little something. But if you're going to do a little something, do it properly. Do it efficiently. Why have some been excluded? And why have some, a minority I suspect, been included? Now, while this promise has been made to these fisher folk to pay them $1,500 a month for the months of September, October, and November, before this promise was made, government picked up a group of persons and sent them to Canada to look at boats. In the age of technology, I don't know that you need to give people a first-class plane right to Canada and put them in 5-star hotels and give them a daily allowance to look at a boat and to come back and report. We haven't seen or heard the report. But if government will admit the price, the cost of that trip, if government will admit it, I know, I don't want to guess, but it would have cost thousands and thousands of dollars. So here it is, you have a delegation being sent to Canada. Airfares, hotels, daily allowances. I don't want to hazard a guess as to a figure, but they could have saved that money and paid these ladies and gentlemen in this room who are at the heart, who sit at the heart of our culture. If we have no food in this country, we have no culture. If we have no food in this country, we have no life. And the fisherfolk community is as important as that. Farming. The central bank report finally admitted what we've been saying for months, that agriculture is in decline. That sweet potato, a staple as important as sweet potato, is in short supply in Barbados and exposing our children to the health hazards of fast food. That is how serious life in Barbados has become. That is how seriously life has declined in Barbados. And the presence of these fish folk here today are evidence of government's rejection of its people who sit at the heart of a culture. What is so difficult about paying the members of the fisher folk the promised $1,500 a month, the paltry sum of $1,500 a month, and causing us to do this press conference? We haven't come here to talk about upgrades and central bank reports, because sometimes all an upgrade is, or all a central bank report is that you have exposed your people to suffering and you're rewarded with something called an upgrade. These people's lives have been downgraded. These people's lives continue to be downgraded by government's refusal to meet a promise. And we are here today to ask government to meet that promise. This is what this media conference is about. These are no lesser beings. They are entitled to public respect. They're entitled to the importance of a media conference in the posh offices of the opposition office. They're entitled to it. It is their taxes that put us here. And we feel we are honored by your presence in coming here this morning to express a claim to government for that small amount of money, $1,500 in arrears, while you sending people on a delegation to Canada. So that is the purpose of this press conference this morning. You can ask questions and we will provide answers. But we feel that this is an issue which goes to the heart of our economy, in spite of central bank reports and Standard and Poor's and all the other lofty agencies. We feel that this matter must be brought to the attention of the Barbadian public. We introduced the Barbadian public to those who endure hardship. In case the Barbadian public does not understand hardship, and I know they do, in case the Barbadian public does not understand hardship, this is what hardship is about in this country. We went on a canvas on Saturday, and we discovered that there are 15-year-old boys in this country who are absenting themselves from school because they're catching chickens. You know the chickens you used to see in the gas stations and the supermarket car parks? You're seeing them these days? The numbers have dropped because our little boys, 14 and 15 years old, we discovered on Saturday, are catching those chickens and selling them so that they can find food to eat. That is what is happening in your country. That is the kind of hardship that people are enduring. So that this presence here this morning is not really to celebrate an industry. Of course, we celebrate the industry. And we remind the government, we remind those in authority of the importance of the industry, the importance of the food industry. But we have asked them to come here this morning to remind Barbadians that this government is derelict in its duty to meet a responsibility to pay them the monies that they say they would pay. They have not done it. The question of food security is a major question in this country. And again, I go back to the central bank report. And the three words that caught me: favorable economic conditions. Food security is in crisis. The problem of chicken, I don't want to exploit the chicken shortage. We heard about fish this morning. But there is no food security in Barbados. This group of fisherfolk, this group has saved Barbados millions of dollars in foreign exchange over the years, because what you're finding now is that some of these vendors here are having to purchase fish that has been imported with foreign exchange to resell it. What is the consequence? The price goes up so that it affects their profits. It affects their profits, and it affects the Barbadian, because the Barbadian now has to go to the market and pay higher prices for fish, imported fish, frozen fish. We don't know where it is from, but I know that Barbadians prefer the fish from the boat into the market and into their basket. That is what Barbadians prefer. And that is an industry that has sustained this country for many years. I am not coming here to make legal points again about government's breach of its responsibility to the industry on the day of the hurricane. We're past that. If government has said that they are going to support this industry with a pittance of a monthly contribution, please do it. And I want to say this as well. What's wrong with December? December is a month of significance on the calendar of all Barbadians. We celebrate Christmas. You mean you're going to offer them October, November, I beg your pardon, September, October, November? What's going to happen at Christmas? Because the industry, I received this information this morning, the industry is 3 years away from returning to full capacity. So that these ladies and gentlemen in this room have to make an adjustment to their lives, to their economic lives, to their incomes, to their ability to earn an income. They have to endure a period of adjustment for 3 years, possibly. Some of the boat owners, we have about 5 or 6 very competent boat builders in this country. Boat builders, I beg your pardon. Government went to Canada to source boats. We have 5 or 6 competent boat builders in this country. Have they been asked? Have they been asked to assist? No, they have not been. And if there's one who has been asked, please let himself be known. We don't know that government has asked the boat builders to assist with the revival and survival of the industry. So everything is going around. But this is a government that finds it possible to give large concessions to other areas of economic life. And as I said in Parliament, I'm going to say here again, I don't wish to foment social discord by identifying those other sectors of the economy, but the time is coming near when I'm going to do it. Because poor people in this country are suffering too much. And the time has come for poor people in this country to stop suffering while others thrive. Don't worry about the phone. You can answer it. That's fine. There are other sectors in Barbados over the years that have received massive assistance from government, and there's a kind of begrudging regard for this industry. Aren't these people too? Aren't these citizens too? Or do we consider them to be the people that you come and photograph if you want to make art? These are not objects of art. These are real life human beings who are enduring and experiencing hardship. Please, government, please give them the little bit of money that you promised them. Please give them the little bit of money that you promised them. I was on to the question of foreign exchange. This industry has saved Barbados millions of dollars over the years in foreign exchange. Millions of dollars. When a man goes out to sea, goes to Tobago or wherever he goes, he catches the fish. He doesn't have to spend any US dollars. He comes back here, he passes it to the vendor. No US dollars involved. But when the processors buy fish from overseas, that's how foreign exchange gone. But this group is not interested in foreign exchange. They're interested in some local dollars that the government promised them. And we're asking the government, what's today's date? Whatever is today's date, the 7th, we are giving the government 1 week. 1 week from today to make the payments, the arrears of payments to these people who are enduring hardship, our fellow citizens, our neighbors, our friends, the people we pass on the road every day. We are giving the government exactly 1 week to make these people's lives right with the promise that they made. 1 week and no more. And we're asking the government to honor a tradition, a cultural tradition in this country, that Christmas must be a time of happiness, because this country is very unhappy. You come into contact with most people these days, Broad Street, Swan Street, gas station, supermarket, and there's a doom and a gloom hanging over Barbados. A lot of people are unhappy. And the reason they're unhappy is because, and I want to say this to the central bank, because of the unfavorable economic conditions that have visited their lives. So we are giving the government 1 week to pay them. And we are asking the government to extend those payments. If you can send a group of people to Canada on a plane, whether first class or economy, in Canada, whether 5-star or 1-star, whether you give them daily allowances or whatever, and spend the taxpayers' money, spend some of the taxpayers' money to keep a promise. Make the payments of arrears, September, October, November, and add to that December and January, when their children have to go back to school, the same little children that running about the villages catching chickens and having to sell them. Y'all know how unhappy this country is, or you don't know? You know, of course, we all live in it, we all experiencing it. And if you are happy and your two neighbors are unhappy, you unhappy too. Unhappiness is infectious, it's contagious, it spreads. A man cannot live happily in a community that is a man cannot live happily in a community that is unhappy. And we are asking the government to meet its responsibility to these citizens of the Bridgetown market and the fishing industry in Barbados. This is not a happy conference. This is not a happy day. I know that. And I'm sorry to have brought you into this environment of unhappiness. But please, please, government, keep your promise to these people. The payments must not, this is a demand we're making, the payments must not end in November. They must go into December. They must go into January. And if the government cannot extend these payments beyond November, I am going to start, this team is going to start telling the people of Barbados, we are going to calculate the millions of dollars that have been paid to other sectors which have not been in as much peril as this group has been in. So if government doesn't want to pay them, we're going to bring facts and figures to the people of Barbados to let people know about the millions of dollars that have been paid to other sectors, but it has been paid quietly. And it has been paid in a dignified way. It hasn't been made public like how we have to make it this morning in a desperate plea. Those millions of dollars in concessions are given to other sectors of this economy. But those sectors of the economy are not at the center of culture. These ladies and gentlemen here, you see, farmers of the sea are at the center of our culture. If there's no food, there's no life, and they must be respected. As I've said, nothing I say here is intended to be condescending. What I'm saying here is a commitment, is in keeping with a commitment to ensure that those without glamour, those who are poor, those who are suffering will have a voice in this opposition office. As I said, I go to Parliament alone, but I'm not lonely. I know that we have the people of Barbados with us. And this is evidence of it. I haven't asked any of them about voting. I want them to vote for their right to be respected by this government. And I close again by asking the government, by today's what, Thursday? By Thursday next week, make good on the promise to pay the fisher folk the paltry sums that you have promised, and to extend those payments into the festive season of Christmas, if the word festive is to have any meaning, and to take it into January. And if you don't do that, government, we are going to disclose to Barbadians the figures of assistance that have been given to the glamorous industries, the glamorous sectors of this economy. If you don't do it, we're going to tell the people of Barbados how well you treated others and how badly you treated the fishing industry. So I'm sorry to have met you with that bad news. Even the media seems to have glum faces this morning. I'm sorry to have made you unhappy. I'm really sorry to have made you unhappy. But you've come and met, y'all thought you were coming to meet people in suits. This team here, we want to show you the faces of discontent in Barbados. They're here voluntarily. Faces, minds, bodies, and souls of discontent caused by a government that is uncaring, a government that lacks compassion, a government that refuses to respect an industry. And we know why, but I'm not going to go into all of that. Media, thanks very much for coming. Fisher folk, thanks very much for coming. Thanks for having the courage. Thanks for having the courage to come, because I know that we live in a country in which a lot of people are now afraid. Not taking the industry seriously.
It's a serious thing because people do not know environment, even with produce or vegetables. Right now,
Come and speak up. Come. Morning, come.
Right now, I am a vendor also. I work in the fish industry, also in the vegetable industry. And it is so hard every single day. And it has hurt me to see how Barbados become, because I'm living in Barbados for over 30 something years. And farming got down so bad that you cannot even get produce. I plant so many produce over the rainy season, and every crop was licked up in every little bit way we could. Right now, they are bringing in food and vegetable from out of Barbados, which is Vinci, St. Lucia, Dominica, and the food that coming from the States. And the food that coming from the States, I will be honest with y'all, it is very expensive. 25 pounds of tomato is $160. Peppers is so expensive. 6 pounds of peppers is for 40 something dollar right now. 50 limes and lemons is almost 40 something dollars. We could run you between 30 something dollars, and when you bought that, you only making $5 profit. Some people feel that when we are vendors, we make a lot of money. It is not true. Right now, I'm buying pawpaw from place in Wildy for $4.25 a pound, and that pawpaw coming from Trinidad. The local pawpaw is almost similar today, because I bought local pawpaw in the week at $4.50 a pound. The local pawpaw. Soursop is very expensive. Soursop wholesaling right now between $4 and $5. 3 years ago, you could have get pawpaw at $2. Soursop at $2 wholesale. You're not getting that. The reason for why that, we need more farmers, and the people that really want to go into farmer like me do not get the ground. They have people that have 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 acres, and they cannot manage all. And they have young farmers. I is one that can stand up here and witness. Young farmers go to enough
institute to get ground to farm, and they reject them. The reason why? Because they give the people that have the 6 and 7 acres and they're not maintaining it. I feel they need to get the younger folks and the younger generation into more ground. So the people that have 6 acre and they're not doing nothing with it, they could help give that to some young people so that they get into farming and we start getting food here. Because see, next 2 more years from now, here we're gonna have a crisis of food. And it's a serious thing and they need to look into it right now. And not only that, spray is very expensive, but we could avoid spraying and we could grow more food. Soursop and papa is very easy to grow if you know how to grow it. But they are giving the land to all sort of people that have 6 acres and it's just sitting there because they cannot manage all, and they have young farmers out there that want the ground to farm and they're not getting it like me. I went and applied. I went up there so many times for a piece of ground to plant, and everybody telling me yes, you can get it. They told me do a course online. I did that course. I have all the papers, everything that I did, and they did not give me that piece. I went, I beg, and get none. They give it to people that into farming. Not everybody are into farming. Not all young people into farming. And I see that a lot of young fellas ain't get no ground, and they give the people that ain't want nothing to do with the ground. And the ground sit there and get bush, and they could have just sit down in the ground and say, look, here should have very young people, and I'm talking in layers.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
You understand?
So much. Thank you so much.
It's a lot going on, and the fish industry is one thing that need to make up because we only have that.
All right, thank you very much. Thanks very much. We're not going to ask your name. I know people. No, don't give it. I know people are very conscious of the possibility of victimization. That's why I say thanks for displaying the courage in coming here this morning. And you spoke on agriculture, and I want Barbadians to hear that voice that say that in 2 years our agriculture will be in serious peril, perhaps before, but that is her view. Just so that people understand that you lift the realities of life beyond the utterances of statisticians and bureaucrats and come to the real people, so that you will understand what is going on in your country. So, ma'am, thanks very much for that. Yes, they need to come to Cheapside and know what's going on. Thanks for that personal testimony. Are there back to you, Rhodes, please?
Thank you so much. I don't know if Amai in the board, she is our spokesperson of agriculture. She wants to say something.
Well, I think Mr. Thorne has put it out there succinctly in terms of what we are expecting the government to do relative to paying the sums of money that they promised. What I would like to highlight, however, in addition to what the young lady just highlighted, is that the ministries cannot work in a vacuum. We have to have greater intergovernmental relations between ministries. Our food security, or rather our food insecurity right now, is a huge problem in Barbados. And it is a serious concern that we need to give more traction to. And yes, I do agree with the young lady. If we are not careful, within 2 years, we are going to have some serious problems. We really will. And the fishing industry and the farming and the agricultural industry goes hand in hand. Yes, Minister Ware has told us that you're having some issues with the chicken shortages. I know we said we weren't going to address it, but never in the history of Barbadian poultry have we had this sort of issue. The industry has found itself in a very precarious situation. And while I am not adding on to the blaming game, I want to know what government has plans. Yes, importing chicken may be a quick fix, but what is the long-term solution? That's on that note. With respect to the fisheries, greater attention needs to be paid to our fishing industry. And as the Honorable Opposition Leader has said, we are giving the government until next week, Thursday, to let us know what is happening and to give those persons the money that they have been promised. In addition, we also heard this morning that government was going to Canada to source boats. And what I would like to say, and this is information that I've received from in talking with the actual fisher folks, and Canada is a cold climate. Some of the persons have indicated that the boats which they are interested in are not suitable for the tropics. They have insulated cabins, which in itself cause problems relative to movement in and out, and the heat. We have also been told that temperatures are going to soar for the next 3 months in excess. Now, I don't know if anyone has noticed, but it is getting hotter. It is not going to cool down. We have to have better resilience to this climate change. We hear our Prime Minister talk about climate change, but what are we really doing to assist the fisher folk, to assist the farmers, respective to climate change? And that's all I would like to add. I think we are focusing on the fisher folk and their concerns, which are valid. Fishing is very important in Barbados. On top of everything else, the fishing industry needs greater attention. Yes, painting oysters or painting the fishing complex red is one thing, but what are you doing to safeguard the livelihoods of those persons, of the fishers, of the vendors? We want to know. The fisher folk want to know. Actions speak louder than words.
Rosa, I wanted to add, for the benefit of the media, and to say that a few Saturdays ago, was it Saturday? Yes, a few Saturdays ago, we met with some of the fisher folk at this office, and we made a promise to them that we were going to write to the Chief Fisheries Officer to request the payment of these monies. I want to say to the media that we have a copy of that letter here, dated November 1st. It's a long letter, so I'm not going to read it to you, but just to say to you that today's event, this morning's conference, has not been the first effort made by us to get these monies on behalf of the fisher folk. We wrote that letter on November the 1st. Have we had a response, Derek? We have not. The letter, that's the letter there. 2 pages. That's it. And we have a list of names of those persons, a long list of names. And again, I am not going to give you any of the names. In this country, apparently there is now a cause or a reason to fear. And I want to thank you for not being afraid this morning. Not being afraid of the children that you have to support. Not being afraid of the landlord that you have to pay rents to. Not being afraid of the food that you have to buy. So thanks for coming this morning. But we have a list of names here of fisher folk affected. I'm not going to read the names. 4 sheets of paper of the names of the fisher folk who are yet to receive payments from this government. Who are yet to receive payments. Look, we say by next Thursday. We keeping it at next Thursday, or we want it by Friday? Thursday. You want the money now? Well, adjust that. Pay the money by tomorrow. Others have been paid. And as I said earlier, there are persons in this room who were paid, but they have come to express solidarity with those who have not been paid. You are seeing this morning a united group, a group of people who have resolved that fairness must come to them. So by tomorrow, government, by tomorrow, fisheries, please send the checks to the people, to these worthy people. Thanks very much, Miss Ali. Anybody else want to say anything, or you all are happy? You want the money now? Look, we're going to ask the head of you to report to fisheries tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Don't wait until next week. Don't go through another weekend. Tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning. So, media, Colby, you have anything?
Yes, just a few questions from the opposition leader.
Yes, please.
You gave a call, or actually a demand, that monies must be paid by
tomorrow. Tomorrow. Readjust it. Tomorrow.
Well, initially you said
tomorrow.
Next Thursday.
Tomorrow.
And the revelation of figures as it relates to concessions paid to the industry.
Yes.
However, your demand, the or else, sounded a little more ominous than just the revelation of those figures. Is there anything else in the pipeline as it relates to agitation to ensure that the deliverables are met?
No, we're crossing bridges as we get to them. We are giving government the opportunity to meet these people with fairness. And if they don't, we will meet with the fisher folk again, and as a group, we will decide what is the next course of action. Yeah.
Also, you would have indicated that the fishing industry is almost 3 years away from a recovery.
Yes, a boat owner told me that this morning. A boat builder told me that this morning.
Right. Well, actually, that was the point I was trying to get to. I was trying to get an idea of the logistics behind that statement.
Yes.
What indicators have you seen on the ground that would give you that perception that we are that far off?
Yes, I spoke to a builder, local builder, very competent builder too, and I asked him to give us a projection, and he said 3 years before it returns to what it has been before. Others may have other views, but we're willing to accept what he told us, 3 years. My concern is government interested in the boat building industry. If you were interested in the local boat building industry, why did you send people to Canada to support a Canadian boat building industry? You see, at every turn, government rejects local people.
That's right.
Look at all the heads of institutions in Barbados. I don't want to stray, but look at the QEH. We can't find a Barbadian to run the QEH. And I don't mean to attack anybody who's heading an institution. But not only are we importing food, we're importing all of our CEOs now. We're importing people to run critical institutions. We have good boat builders in this country, 5 or 6 very competent boat builders who employ apprentices, who are providing employment. And government fills a plane with people and sends it to Canada to look at boats, when you could get a photograph, when you could get a video, when you could get information. People buy cars in Japan and never went to Japan yet, a whole car, and go down to the port and see it, having already paid for it. But you want a boat, so you have to send a man to Canada to look at the boat. Logic. This government is failing the people of this country.
The Minister of the Blue Economy, I think that would have been Mr. Adrian Ford, would have.
He's blue or green? Oh yes, he's
he's
blue. He used to be green because he was about to plant 1 million trees. Yes, I don't know how many they planted, but he is now blue.
Initially, when the first tranche of payments would have been made, I think he would have given some explanation as to the others, why those payments were not forthcoming. I think he suggested that it wasn't just as automatic, that there was a procedure that had to be undergone.
Yes.
How does that explanation hold water?
All of these ladies and gentlemen in here who are yet to receive payments, they went through the process of application and registration to fisheries. There is nothing 3 or 4 times. There is nothing left to be done by these ladies and gentlemen. They can't make any excuses. Government is simply refusing to pay them. They pay the airfares. They paid for the hotels in Canada. Pay these people by tomorrow. By tomorrow, Mr. Mounsey.
Tell me
next week.
Next week. Another weekend? Yes, please. Speak to the camera, sir.
Whenever.
Come and speak to the camera.
Fisheries, you get no answer.
It's true.
It's more foolish. Leave them go there. I think 2 weeks ago, you've been there. And the chat had come to fisheries this morning. The been to fisheries? Oh, you have a meeting at 11:30. They get there, 11:30, all confusion. You let them more foolish than they right there. I asked the lady, what did you all do? All the information from us. You send it to accounts. I said, if you send it, where's the account? You can't go there. That was your question again. So you know I do this.
But you know, one of the things that disappoints us are these comments. You see it on social media a lot. People finding some reason or another to defend what the government is doing. If they have insurance and they're irresponsible people. And when the concessions are being given to the other people, you don't hear those kinds of comments. The contempt, the innate contempt that is held for certain Barbadians, as reflected by these comments publicly made on social media, that must end. That must end. These are human beings. These are human beings who are at the center of an industry. And some people are finding every reason, every excuse to deny them. I wonder if that is the reason government is denying them, because government feels that it has the support of some public sentiment. I wonder, but they must be paid. And they will be paid. I'm confident that y'all are going to be paid.
That's right.
They're going to respond to this.
Right.
They are going to trust me, Clive. They're going to respond to it. They have to. Any other questions, please? You good?
I'll go answer the questions.
So Colby, you're the leader. But thanks very much. Thanks for coming. Rose, back to you. And thanks very much for joining. Yes.
Now that brings our press conference to an end. Once again, I have to extend thanks to the people for coming. We're very happy to see you and to hear your concerns. Thank you, viewers, for watching. Thank you, media, for attending the conference. And thank you for watching.
Thank you all.